Alright, what's up guys? This is Biggs, and today I'm going to do a custom Marvel vs. Capcom 2 mix tutorial. I think I talked to Gopher Broke on Facebook, and he said he wanted a short little guide on how to do this. So I am going to show you a really quick way on how to make mixes. Um, so in the description of this video, there should be a link to download this zip file called MVC2 Mix Tools. You're going to want to download that and put that on your computer somewhere. I'm running this when I make custom mixes, I do it in a Windows 7 virtual machine. Um, it doesn't really matter what version of Windows you use. I think you can use Windows 10 or Windows 8.1 I've used in the past. But the reason I run it in a virtual machine is that some of these older programs seem to be a little shady. So I don't really want to put it on my actual computer. I like to run it in a sandbox environment. Some of these older programs could have viruses. I've heard of it in the past before. So that's why I run it in a virtual machine. So whatever you do here, you do at your own risk. I'm just warning you right now. So you're going to want to get this MVC2 Mix Tools folder, and we're going to unzip it or whatever. So we're going to extract everything out of it, and there's going to be a few things in there, and I'm going to go through everything. So let's just wait for everything to extract. Alright, so here's the MVC2 mix folders. Everything's extracted. I'm going to open it up. There's a few different folders in here, and I'm going to go through everything. The folders we're going to be looking at today, we're going to use Boot Dreams, we're going to use custom colors, we're going to use custom music, we're going to use disk burning, we're going to use install, and we're going to use self boot. The other two folders, multi-disc and custom logo, we're not going to look at those today. Those are for more advanced type things. So custom logo lets you insert a custom logo during the loading screen. And then multi-disc, if you've ever seen any of those like SRK compilation mixes by Eldrian, how you can put more than one game on one disc, or more than one mix or soundtrack on one disc, you would do it using multi-disc. So those two topics are really advanced, so I'm not going to cover them today. So the first thing we're going to do is go into the install folder, and we're going to install a bunch of stuff. So we're going to install 7-zip first. It's just to open some archives that are in different format other than zip. So it installed, that's cool. Next thing we're going to install is GBurner Virtual Drive. This is going to help us mount our MVC2 CDI image. I've heard in the past that GBurner can be kind of shady. So just install it at your own risk. I think you can use alcohol 120% or something like that to install it too. I've had problems with alcohol in the past, so I just use GBurner. It's pretty easy. So we're going to install that, and then we're going to install Goldwave. This is going to help us for music, so we'll just go ahead and install that now. Cool. So everything in the install folder is done. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use GBurner Virtual Drive to mount our regular Marvel vs. Capcom CDI image. So this is one that has not been edited. So after you install GBurner Virtual Drive, you go down here to your Windows tray at the bottom, and there's going to be this little icon, GBurner Virtual Drive. Click that, and then you're going to say Mount Image File to Drive. Click that, and find your CDI image for Marvel 2. Click that, and then it will mount it to a folder. So this is the contents of the CDI image. We're going to make a new folder where our mix is going to be. So I'm just going to call this mix, and I'm going to copy all the contents of this folder to mix. So it's copying everything. Shouldn't take too long. Okay, cool. So everything's done on the CDI image side, so we're not going to need anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and unmount it. So you go back to the GBurner virtual drive tray and click unmount drive. So now that it's unmount, and we're going to be working out of this mix folder for the remainder of this tutorial. So go back to your MVC2 mix tools folder. And I think the first thing we're going to look at is custom colors. So click the custom colors folder. You're going to see 3 PDFs right here. You can look at these if you want to. They're not going to be helpful if you're a beginner. I'll go ahead and show you what they all have in them. They're more for like old school type mix makers. They show a lot of extra palettes and things where moves are and stuff like that. You're not really going to find them useful if you're not an advanced user, so don't really worry about it. We're just going to be looking at PalMod 1.22 and PalMod v1. So PalMod 1.22 is the newest version of it. So let's go into that folder and click the palmod.exe, and this is what's going to pop up. There's going to be a preview window, and there's going to be the actual PalMod program. So I'll also open up the other PalMod v1. This is an older version, and you can see what this looks like too. Some people prefer to use both of these. I think PalMod v1 is useful sometimes because it can make a lot of customization easier color-wise. You can do a lot more with it. But PalMod 1.22 is going to be easier, and you're going to use that most often for most of the things you're doing. So I'm just going to show you PalMod v1 like this, so you can see there's a bit more options color-wise that you can do. But we're going to stick to PalMod 1.22. But if you're going to make like more advanced colors, you should learn how to use both of them in the future. So we're just going to go to File, Load Directory, and click DC USA for Dreamcast or the PS2 for the PS2 version. If you're making a custom mix for the PS3, a hacked CFW PS3, you're going to want to click the PS2 version and just use the files you extract from the actual PS3 version. But we're using a Dreamcast, so we're going to use this, and we're going to click our mix folder that we already found, we extracted. So this is going to open up all the game files for the characters. You can see all the characters in here. You scroll through this list to get the characters. You scroll through this list to get the different colors. So there's all the colors for the button. Some characters have an extra slot for some other things. I'll show you what that does later. And also on each color, there's main colors at the bottom here, and then there's extra colors for all the animations on the moves and stuff like that, supers and stuff like that. So you can edit the actual colors on the character, and you can edit the special moves as well for a good amount of characters. So what you do for editing these colors, you can mess with these little squares in here and mess with the actual RGB values or the HLS values. Some people use HLS because it's faster, but RGB is nice too. You can see when we move the slider on one thing, it makes this square dark like green, and then we move it all the way back, and there's the original color. So that's how you can edit each individual color. On the sprite, another important thing is to click a box, and you can click the blink button, and you can see it actually blinks on the preview, so you can see what color you're actually changing right there. So that's really nice. But you're going to find that this can be a really slow way to do it. So it might be faster for you to use other people's colors or just build off of that. So one format you may see that other people's colors is posted in is in this sort of like hex code format right here. This is from Fujiko. He's a Japanese Marvel 2 player, and we're going to try and copy one of his mixes today. He posted basically the recipe for how to make his mix, but not the actual CDI image. So we're going to use this as a guide today. So another way you can actually input colors on PalMod is to actually use this sort of like hex color code thing right here. So if we copy paste this whole thing with the parentheses and all, we're just going to copy that. And you can also see examples of these on like really old forms on SRK. But we're going to go back in here. We're going to click this box, and on your keyboard, press Control A. It's going to highlight the whole box right here. So when you do that, you can paste the actual color code on here. So that color was on, if we go back to what Fujiko had here, he said it was on LK. So that was on LP, if I recall correctly. So we're going to switch this to LK. We don't want to update palette. So here's LK. And we're going to press Control A to highlight the whole color box, and then Control V. And there you go. It pastes that color that he had there originally. So that's pretty cool. So what we're going to do here, how you save your color, you press File, Patch Changes, and that saves your color changes right there. So one way you can share your colors with other people, for example, you can use the color code. Basically, you would go on the color, click one of the boxes, press Control A, and then you can press Control C, and it will actually copy the color code. So if I open a new file here, just call this color, and we paste it, you can see there is the color code for the default Magneto color right there. So you can save this and share it with somebody. That would be a really fast way to share it. Another way you can share it is to use, let's delete this, is to use the tools and then save ACT palette. If you do that, it'll actually save an ACT file, and another user, you could share that with someone and they can import it into their pal mod, and that will give them that color as well. So those are basically two ways you can share your colors. Another important thing, when you in the custom mix group, there's a lot of people that share their mixes, and they also share their colors as well with like a little picture. So how you do that is you go on the preview, file, export image, and then you click the amount right here and you move that to 6, and it will actually show all the colors, and you can do file save, and it will save a PNG of it. So we'll just call it Magneto. So then you can go and find the file, I think it puts it in your documents, and there you go. So there's all the sprite colors right there. So yeah, that's really all that's there for color editing. You could spend like months, weeks on it, meticulously editing colors. It doesn't really matter. One thing I like to do, I like to look at other mixes. So I basically mount other mixes CDIs and go through their colors and kind of add on to them, or I just take the colors that I like, etc. But especially with all these extra color palettes, with like, let's say we take Storm, for example. Storm, she has a lot of colors on her extra moves. So like all these extra palettes have a bunch of other animations and stuff on here, especially on this extra thing down here. All these, look at this. She has all these extra animations that you can edit the colors for. So this can take an extremely long amount of time. So that's basically how you do colors. It's pretty simple. Now we're going to show how to do music. So we're going to go back to the Mix Tools folder, and we're going to do custom music right here. If I go back to that YouTube page, what Fujiko had, what we're going to do is character select music, because this one's actually readable, not in Japanese, so I don't have to go hunting for it. Usually what I do with music, I just find music and then I use a YouTube downloader, and then it will just download like an M4A or MP3 file. So after you get your music file, you can see we have it right here. You're going to want to convert it to a WAV file. So for that, we're going to use GoldWave, which we installed earlier. You could also use Audacity. I think you have to get a plugin to make it install a WAV file, but we're just going to use GoldWave. So we're going to open GoldWave up. This is what it looks like when you first open it. You can click out of this, go to File, Open, find your music file. Here it is. So there it goes. And all you're going to do is File, save as, and then switch the save as type to wave. Save it. So that saves your file as a wave right here. So here you go. You see it says wave right there. The next thing you're going to do is boost the audio for your wave file. So you go to S&D Rec 32 right here. It's an old Windows XP utility that used to go to Windows, but they don't have it anymore. It's going to have this error updating the registry. It doesn't matter. Just press OK. Go to File, Open, find your wave file right here. And then you're going to want to go to Effects, increase volume by 25%. You're going to want to do this 3 or 4 times. Because when you actually make the music for Dreamcast, it could sound really loud on your computer, but when you actually put it on the Dreamcast disc, it's going to sound really, really low. So we have to increase the volume like by 25% 3 or 4 times. So we're going to click increase volume by 25%, save it. I think you don't have to open it again, but I like opening it again and then doing increase volume by 25%, save. So that's 2 times, open it again. Increase volume by 25%, save, open it again, and then one last time, increase volume by 25%, and then save. So there you go, we've increased the volume quite a bit. Some people like to say we've increased it by 100% since we did 25% 4 times, but remember that the 25% is stacking and including all the other 25%, so it's a little bit more than 100% if you really think about it. But just do that 3 or 4 times so your audio is nice and loud. So after you increase the volume on your wave, now we're going to want to make it into an ADX file. So what we're going to do is, there's 2 options for this. You can do the ADX converter and player zip or the DKZ Studio. I'll show you both, but we're going to use DKZ Studio in the end because it's easier. So you can take this ADX player and converter file and you can extract it out. So it's extracting, and I'll put it back in here. So if you look in here, you're going to want to use adxencoder.exe. You'll set your output directory. I'm just going to set it to desktop. And then you get your WAV file right here. And you can actually format it as ADX, and then you can set a loop on here. And the loop's done in samples. So if you open up Goldwave again, and you open up your WAV file that you made, you can also do this with Audacity. If you go down here to where it has the minutes track, you can click samples, and this will show you the file in samples. So you can actually move around in the file and find what sample you want to start at, or you could just flat out edit the file and then have your regular sample start and end. So that's how you make a loopable file. It'll loop after it hits a certain sample. I've heard sometimes when you use ADX encoder, it doesn't really work depending on what version of Windows you have. I don't really know. So I'm not going to use it because I've had bad luck with it in the past. We're going to try and use DKZ Studio. So back in the custom music folder, we're going to click this dkzstudio.exe and we're going to install it. So we're going to click English, next, next, next. So there we go. Installed. It's going to say something's not registered. That doesn't matter. And we're going to open it. So here you go. It's going to say this invalid call procedure. That doesn't matter either. The only thing we're going to use DKZ Studio is, like I said, to create the ADX. So if you go to Tools, you can go to Multi-ADX to Wave right here. And then you're going to find the folder with your WAV file in it, which is our desktop. Click that, and then our destination folder, we're going to choose our desktop again. And we can basically save the ADX with a complete loop from start to end. So we'll just check that, and it's going to loop our whole file. And then we're just going to press start, and it's going to pop out the ADX file when this is finished. So this is a really easy way to do it. So there we go, we can exit, and you can see it created our ADX file right here. So this is the file we're going to use to put it in the game. So we're done with DKZ Studio. We're going to take a look at this stages.txt. This is going to have all the stage file names. So if I remember correctly from the Fujiko Japanese mix, we're going to be replacing the character select. So that is cell C, ADX cell C, the select screen right here. So we're going to rename this file ADX underscore cell C, and we're not going to have it as an ADX, we're going to change it to BIN, capital BIN, like that. And it's going to ask us to change the file extension, and we're going to say, yeah, that's fine. So now we're going to open up our mix folder. And you can see in here, here's all the ADX files that the actual game has. And we're just going to copy that and replace the file in there. So this is going to change the music for the select screen. So move and replace. There we go. So we've already changed one color and one track for the character select music. So now we're going to actually go ahead and I'm going to show you how to create a self-bootable CDI straight off that. So first thing we're going to do is go back to your Mix Tools folder. We're going to open up the self-boot folder. And we're going to be using three things out of here. We're going to use this first read.zip, dummyfile.exe, and ip.bin. So go back to your Mix folder, and we're going to look for those files and delete them. So in the Mix folder, we're going to delete the first read.bin, delete that, delete the dummy.dat. It might be say dummy.bin as well. Delete dummy.dat or dummy.bin, whichever's there. And then delete the ip.bin. If you in the future look into custom logo insertion, you would actually insert the custom logo into your ip.bin. So that's just for people who are more advanced. So delete those files, then go in the self-boot folder, open the first read.zip, take this file, copy it to your mix folder. There you go. Take your ip.bin file, copy it to your mix folder. And then click dummyfile.exe, click pick location, and we're going to choose your mix folder that you made right here. We're going to want this to be a couple hundred megabytes. Make it so it'll actually fit on your disk. So CDs are usually like 700 or so megabytes. So you don't want your total file size to be over what your CD can hold. So I usually just put like 300 on it. Your dummy file basically pushes the actual data from your CDI image out to farther tracks of the disks, which makes it easier for the disk drive to read it, so your disk drive doesn't die as fast. So there you go, we pressed build and it took 0 seconds. So we're all done here file wise. Next thing we're going to do is make the self-bootable CDI image. We're going to use Boot Dreams for this. This is the easiest way to do it. So go back to your MVC2 Mix Tools folder, click Boot Dreams, bootdreams.exe. It's going to open this up. Browse your self-boot folder. That's going to be your mix folder right here. Click that. You can make a CD label if you want, call it whatever. Make sure the disk format's data and press process. It's going to ask you if you want to create a disk juggler image, press yes. Then it's going to ask you if you want to scramble the binary, press no. And then here you're going to save it. Save, and it's going to bring up this command prompt window, and it's going to take a while right here. So I'm going to pause the video and come back when it's done. So I'll be back. Alright guys, we're back right now. You can see it's about done at 98%. This takes a while, but it'll get done eventually. So we should be done here in a second. 99, there we go. So the disk juggler image was created successfully, and we're all done. So it should output this CDI image right here. The next thing I'm going to do is test it using an emulator. I always test my CDIs before I burn them. You don't want to burn it to a disk and then it doesn't work and you just wasted a disk. CDs are usually write once, read many, so I'm just gonna copy this out to my actual computer real quick, and then we'll test it in a emulator. You can use whatever emulator you like, but I use Demel. So open that up. There's Demel, and let's change the GD-ROM to have the disk, which was mix.cdi, and then let's run it. Alright, let me get my stick. And you just got to remember, we only changed the Magneto light kick color, and we changed the music on the character select screen. So let's get it loaded. That's always a good sign. Training room, and it should hear different music. There we go. So there you go. You heard the different music right there, and now we're just going to see if the color's different. So I picked light kick. So there you go. There's the custom color that we put in. Looks pretty sick. Let's see if we can do a combo or something. So there you go. That's all we need to see in the emulator. So I'll close that out. And now we're going to talk about the final section, which is burning this to a disk. So we're going to open up that MVC2 Mix Tools folder again, and we're going to go to disk burning right there, and then we're going to click the exe. It's going to set up image burn. It's a program to burn disk images using your CD drive. Next, accept the terms, blah blah blah. Next. Would you like image burn to check for a new version? I'm going to pick no, and there we go. So it's going to open up this website pop-up. You don't really care. Just close it. Press finish. So image burn's installed, but we still got to install one more thing to write CDI files. So you're going to want to open up your Windows Explorer, go to Program Files x86, and then there's going to be an image burn folder right here. Next thing you're going to want to do is take this pfc2c.zip folder, and you're going to take the contents of that zip and copy it to the image burn folder in your x86 file. So press continue, copies that in there, and this is going to allow you to write CDI images to disks using your disk drive. So you can close that out, open up image burn, and you would just get your write image file to disk. Select your image file, which is going to be that mix that you made. So ours is called mix.cdi, and then you would click your destination would be your disk drive. Pop open your disk and burn it, and then you're good to go to play on Dreamcast. So thanks guys for watching. Hope you learned something.